Well, hello everyone, Texie88 here and welcome to another review. And now I'm taking a look at Ocean's Amstrad CPC port of Chase HQ. I've previously reviewed the Spectrum 128K version and the Commodore 64 version. The former is an absolute masterpiece and routinely gets considered to be one of the best if not the best, best games and or best conversions for the system, while the Commodore 64 version was an utter shambles by comparison. I also reviewed the 16-bit Amiga version, which was rather poor as well, to be perfectly frank. So now I'm taking a look at the CPC version, and now I'm just going to redefine my keys to make things a bit easier to play. Press the key for gear, accelerate, brake, left, right, pause, turbo, right. That was a nice sound effect. We got an emergency here, Ralph the Idaho slasher. Yeah, I think we know the text from the previous versions, so I'm not going to read it out again. Now, I was a bit worried because that opening screen was a clear Spectrum port. I was worried this is going to be a Spectrum port as well, but it's actually its own thing. Nice speech there. Seems to control smoothly. Frame rate's pretty good. The skid sound effect is very, very like the one on the Spectrum version. Not that's a bad thing. It was a pretty good sound effect for an 8-bit machine. Only thing I'm not massively keen on at the moment is that striped road effect. It does look a bit repulsive. There's the tumbleweeds. They look like Brussels sprouts. Now, a YouTuber 8-bit Rage has already reviewed this, and I completely forgot I hadn't actually done a review of this version myself. So here we are. I like the way it's also... Oh, I could barely even see that car because it's exactly the same colour as the road, nearly. And I like the way it's got that same sound to muting, whereas he went in the tunnel that the Spectrum version did. That's a nice attention to detail. You can tell it's done by the same people that did the Spectrum version. I recognise the name Jobby that was in the intro. Or John O'Brien, I believe his real name was. Oh, dash. Just managed to get the target vehicle in sight before the time ran out. Time limit was a bit tight though, I mean. Let's try a turbo. Oh, not yet, there's a curve. Wait for a straight bit before I think of damn. Or at the very least a straight. Oh, come on, give me a straight bit. Graphics a little bit blocky, but doesn't seem to be slowing down any, which is good. Nice sound effect for the turbo. Doesn't rotate. It doesn't have a animated rotation effect on the symbol in the bottom left corner like it does on the Spectrum, on other versions such as the Spectrum version. It just blinks. Maybe that was a compromise they had to make to avoid frame rate drop. I don't know, but all things considered, if that's what it takes to prevent a frame rate drop, then it's an easy sacrifice to make and doesn't impact on the gameplay in any way. Don't think it's quite as slick as the Spectrum version, though. Yeah, he got him. So that's this particular perpetrator literally banged to rights. That K of OK does look like an H. I can just about make out it's a K, but it does look a lot like an H. And actually, that X that's being used for multiplication in time bonus looks a bit like an H as well. So there is that, and here's Nancy giving us our new mission. So just gotta wait for. Oh no, we don't.
Let's go, Mr. Driver.
It's good that they managed to get the speech in this version. It is a shame that there's no music on that intro screen though. The Spectrum 128K version and even the 48K version had intro music, so it's a bit of a shame that this doesn't. But at least the game itself is a good solid conversion. Left. And even has this helicopter, just like in the arcade and in the Spectrum version. Yeah, I'm really not keen on that striped road effect. It does look a bit tacky, and I mean, the Spectrum version doesn't have the striped road. It has the striped edges of the road, but not the road itself. It just kept the lines, and I honestly think it was visually more pleasing. Quite often, having those stripes can make a game look really cheap and nasty and tacky, and that's the feeling I get here, unfortunately. Well, I better use a nitro in a moment. Time's going to run out. Ah, good. Damn it, it's not. That was a waste of a nitro. Why didn't hit that? Yes. Nah, I'm sure I didn't hit that car either. Yeah, hit detection's a little off. Yeah, I admit I hit that. Yeah, I am really impressed with this port. As I said, I don't think it's quite as slick as the Spectrum version, but a lot of people wouldn't really notice unless they place the two side by side. Shame there's no siren sound though, but at least it has the flashing lights in the top left and top right corner of the screen. And that's another perpetrator banged to rights. does it really have to have the engine sound continuing like that? Can't it just stop that? I mean, the police officers would have turned off the engine. And I'd like to think that the purple would turn off the engine if their car was on fire that much. It would probably explode.
Idiot boy.
Nice colourful graphics as well. It's really quite interesting that the Amstrad CPC, which is often a bone of contention when it comes to getting lazy Spectrum ports, it actually had their version done from scratch for this game, and it was the Commodore 64 version that had to be where the players of that machine ended up getting the Spectrum port, which was painfully slow and had awful sound. My review of that's elsewhere on my channel if you're interested, but be warned, it's nowhere near as pleasant to look at as this or the Spectrum version, and the Amiga version was also a bitter disappointment. In fact, the Amiga version's pretty shocking. Ugh. Not sure about that colour. Well, at least it's not a green road like you had in the Commodore. Oh, dash. Good, it's keeping the speed up through these tunnel sections. That's good. Especially when you consider that a few years before this came out, the Amstrad CPC version got possibly the worst 8-bit computer port out of all the 8-bit computers at the time. Why? I was nowhere near that car. Right, saw the sighting of target vehicle. Right, it's the yellow one. What? I was nowhere near that. I did not hit that white car on the right just then. Oh, it's slightly slowing down here, but it's still not as bad as still not as bad as the slow speed of Outrun. Yeah, I admit I hit that, but those other cars, no. Well, mind you, even with that one just then, I still think it was a bit too far ahead of me to have possibly hit it. Yeah, even though it's got some slight niggling issues, I still think this is a very solid port, and I honestly think a lot of people who had this an Amstrad CPC would have been impressed with it. Especially when they were so upset over how poor their version of Outrun ended up being. Because that was an absolute shocker. It's hard to know what else to say now because I've already reviewed 3 other versions of this, and I've pretty much covered the aspects of what's unique to this version. Well,
Your time's up.
Yeah, I gathered that, Nancy. But I'm going to wind up the review there. I purposely didn't use nitros but that does cover up, seem to suggest a bit of a sore spot, that it seems that the time limits in this particular version are a little bit on the tight side. So it seems like it seemed to me that if I didn't actually have any nitros left by that particular point, then the game would be nigh on, if not actually impossible to complete. The Spectrum version is not quite as mean as that, and so that's Chase HQ for the Amstrad CPC. Ocean once again showed that they know how to deliver the goods, and this is no exception. This is still an excellent port of Chase HQ. It is a shame there's no music here though, because there was on the Spectrum version and indeed on the Commodore version, from what I remember. I have to look again to remind myself. I can't actually remember. It's been a while since I last reviewed any version of Chase HQ. Graphics nice and colourful, a little bit chunky. I'm not keen on the stripy road effect, and some of the colour choices on these of the terrain on the sides of the road is a bit questionable, like that pink that we had not so long ago. I don't quite know why they made it pink. Yeah, I don't think that the stripy road effect really makes it look give an illusion of speed. The Spectrum version didn't have any of that striping on the road itself, just on the sides of the road, and it worked fine, and it actually looked a lot cleaner as a result of it. The car's animated nicely, where the road undulates and it reacts accordingly, and it bounces just like it does in the Spectrum version. And sound effects are really nice as well. Shame there's no siren sound. Speech is very clear. Gameplay, as I said, it's not quite as slick as the Spectrum version. I don't. That's my feelings towards it anyway, and it does have the problems I mentioned about what appear to be tighter time limits and issues. Some issues with the hit detection, but this is still an excellent port, and I'm still quite happy to give it 9 out of 10. I honestly think that people who had the Amstrad CPC back in the day would have been more than happy with this particular port. It is very, very good, and I'm impressed with it too, even though I slightly prefer the Spectrum version. But yeah, very good. Thumbs up to Ocean. This all the people involved should give themselves a pat on the back. Hope you enjoyed this review. Catch you on another video soon. Texie88 out.